Hi, welcome to One Word a Day. I'm Sophie, your pilot into the universe of Chinese. I'm kind of at the end of my recording, kind of a low energy, tired, but we are going to wrap up this week's lineup of some pretty powerful concepts. We start with grave. Okay, set the tone. It's pretty underground, pretty dark, right? And Chinese create that concept by having this bound-legged pig wrapped under there. And turn out, I guessed it right, or probably you guessed it right too. Ancient burial habit that have the pig as livestock buried together with the passed away humans to show that, or to comfort the living, to make sure that the dead also get food next to it, even if they don't need it anymore. That's from the living person's understanding of what the dead would need. And also, it's kind of I guess a wealth marker. The wealthier you have, apparently you can afford more pigs, bounded legs, and wrapped around, thrown next to the grave. So that becomes the grave symbol. And you can see in simplified Chinese contemporary version, we shorten this big wrapper, get rid of the dot on the top. That means wrapping around. And also this wrapper is kind of like a huge, almost fully enclosure question mark, right? In a contemporary version, totally, we just lost it. The whole three sides of it just shortened to just the top, which I guess easier to write, but lost its original meaning. As if it looks like, okay, it's also explainable that the bound-legged pig pronounced as true, okay? When I still remember it, I will forget about it soon because nobody uses this character in our everyday life. That is covered underground. And in fact, the version we saw is fully wrapped. And I think the leg bounding practice was necessary because you want to prevent the livestock from running away. So they were buried alive next to the dead. I mean, it's really not fair to the animal. Okay, yuan, round, was this time swapped out the pig with the rabbit. Okay, I placed them together because they are, both animals under this big arch thing. So the difference is the previous was the wrapper, this big question mark looking thing. And this one is me, this big arch. That means contain the space, either use a net or a cage. Here, the rabbit was captured under the net to mean like the rabbit, from the rabbit perspective. And of course, when we're talking about rabbit, we're always self-pointing, talking about ourselves, humans, how we feel, as if we were that rabbit in that cage, let's say. And a lot of our potentials, a lot of our space were limited, that we cannot fully achieve our rabbithood, and we don't get heard our full story because we were kind of wrapped in this confinement prematurely. And that's the wrong concept. And again, we lost the size and only shortened it to the top to become a cover instead of the old directional cage. And we simplified the ears of the bunny to this box image that doesn't look like ears anymore. And then the tail of the bunny into this dot. Well, this could be the tail, explained as tail. I learned it as imagined as a tail. But it could be the leg over here. Here, showing the rabbit's back, I guess, hinder legs. All right. Me is this arch itself. So sometimes just draw this thing was not enough. Ancient times, we just draw that as a me, as this cover image. That's not enough sometimes because cover, this is kind of When it becomes too abstract, it becomes like open for interpretation. As I said, it can mean a net or a cage. But once you add more things to it, which we did by adding a sun, like having the sun under that cover, and also have kind of a grass symbol that was simplified into this this dot image, and have the fabric in there underneath, means we cover something with the fabric. So we cover, not necessarily cover the sun, right? Because you cannot cover the sun with the fabric, but all of them, we cover the sun with the grass, and we cover something with the fabric, and the cover itself, the abstract, like all coverable cover, all three stack up together to kind of a triple emphasize this is something about covering. 明, this means dark, have similar to the me concept because we also have the sun in there. And then we have the number 6. Number 6 in I Ching, or Book of Change, talking about how the world operates per the understanding of Book of Change. I mean, talk about Book of Change, that name, the I Ching, okay. That name just gave me some goosebumps because this talking about the meta, the Book of Change, right? It has to have this trend, this movement of things. It's not just looking at individual phenomena. It's talking about how one thing morphs into another. It's kind of universal and kind of linking things together. So I wish I have the intellectual depth and time to dive in to understand better of that ancient philosophy about how the world operates. And according to that book, this number 6 here, which ancient version renders as this kind of space needle looking thing, that is the starting point of yin energy. And yin means diminishing energy. It's not rising energy, diminishing. And when we pair that with the sun, means the sun's energy is diminishing and we're covering it up. That's the way to express dark, because we have to use light, the sun, to express the dark, the non-light. And Ming, again, we shorten the sides and then we kind of a super simplified number 6 into this. Okay, Guan. Here, this hat was more like a social identity marker because depends on what hat you wear. People can identify your profession, probably your rank in a government, what you can do, right? Or do you, like if you can mess with. So all that societal reading of each other, a lot derived from the hat. And so Chinese handle hat carefully, okay? That we express it with this measuring, this medical diagnosis, a pulse reading practice. To mean you have to handle it in a measured, meticulous way and place that thing on top of your head, on top. So 2 horizontal lines to mean on top of your top of the top it off the top. And then with this wrapper to mean something to wrap it. So it's a hat, meticulous, measured, top of her head kind of a wrapping thing. Okay, pretty worthy, but this is what this imagery is about. And again, shorten the sides and the whole thing, the middle part got simplified. Things no longer look like squished proportion or the 3 finger with like curvatures, curved lines were reduced to more manageable amount. And rong, useless, is this almost nested image of the mian, which is this shelter image, this big arch with a chimney on the top, except that the middle is not a straight line on the right. That is not an exact nested imagery. It turned out to be one of, at least the current interpretation I'm accepting, is another rendering of how a human figure would look on a profile view, that the straighter side is the front side, and then the curvier side is your back side. So this person is facing toward the left, which is the default forward going direction. And this is a person in that shelter, means that person is not at the moment go out farming. That's regarded as useless at the moment. It can be used as a reserve, as extra hands when in time of need. When a lot more, I would imagine, even if I didn't practice agriculture, I would imagine throughout different seasons of farming activity require different number of hands on a farmland. And sometimes you cannot just hire and fire people like frequently according to that, right? At least I'm not sure ancient solution for that. So you probably would need to keep some people useless temporarily just so that you can have them around when it's peak season for you. All right, so that's 容, and again, shortening of that and missing of that top notch, which is probably the neck to the head portion of the humans. All right, so this is 种, 渊, 密, 明, 冠, 容. And all of them have that big arch thing shortened to just the cover, which was a lot easier to write, but a lot less impressive as to how confined things are, because everything is kind of wrapped in that small space with both sides. Now it's just a cover. Give you more breathy room, but it was not the intention. It was not the original back then. And then things like the rabbit's hinder leg or the ears got simplified into boxy things, or a dot, or this this was wholly added on to like triple down the concept of the sun buried in the grass per ancient, I guess, flat earther understanding of the sun. Where they go under the grass. So no more sun, and then the fabric used to cover things. So we have a cover, the sun got covered, fabric used as covering, and then we have the whole thing, big arch thing, as the covering. So triple down on the concept of cover. And an ancient mathematician from the 3rd century, China, use this cover to figure out the power as square, how you square things of the same length of fabric cover to change one dimension, this length, into this area, right? And you just square it. So that becomes our mathematical equivalent of exponential. Okay. 明, and then shorten, and how this number 6 got totally dissected. It used to be connected into one piece as that space needle looking thing, but it's so hard to join, so it becomes 5 different strokes, 5 different pieces. All right, and then 冠, this big business about hat, wearing the right hat. We have to use this measured wearing and the hat. So the whole thing, again, super simplified, straightened out is different. And it would also miss the tip, and actually this tip as well. I missed that part. So as you can see, even if in contemporary they look the same, but in ancient version, some of them are that wrapper that wrap the whole thing. Some of them are the roof, the human shelter roof thing. So it's, even if a contemporary looks, just this cover, this horizontal line with a little bit decoration at the edges, ancient versions could be totally different. And all these complicated structures in the middle, it was even more complicated back then. So here, from grave to useless, how to express this two of them pretty depressing message. Okay, so read here that everything decay in the end. So with that, we have a peace of mind of accepting, grave is the destination, I guess, and at some point we will become useless. And so be it. Thank you for your time. See you another week.